Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Sistas, Season 7, Episode 15, Love Means Never Having to Say You're Sorry. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off last week, with Jordan coming back into the house, catching Ethan with his picture frame of him and Andy in his hands. He was attempting to put a bug on the picture frame, but Jordan doesn't know that. So he's asking him, like, what the hell are you doing? Ethan, he plays it off and says he was just admiring Andy's beauty. All of a sudden, Jordan comes with this fake deep voice trying to be threatening towards Ethan, telling him he pays him to take care of his campaign, not to be admiring his woman. So now Ethan, he's over there shaking in his boots because now he thinks he's cased up. And Jordan, with his goofy behind self, starts laughing like, oh, I'm just joking, man. You should have seen the look on your face. So then he proceeds to tell Ethan that the only reason he came back in the house was to get his wallet. And again, Jordan, you should have never left Ethan in your house in the first place. And then on top of that, you leave your wallet? You are too trusting and naive. So all of a sudden, Andy, she walks in bringing breakfast, and Jordan really doesn't seem all that thrilled to see her, but he does cancel his plans going to the gym with Rich and Tony. Andy, she's introduced to Ethan. They all start talking, and Jordan, he's still so enamored with all of Ethan's accomplishments at such a young age, which we know he didn't even really research this guy and his background. He basically hired him on the spot. So where Ethan went to college comes up, and just so happens Andy had a cousin named Nigel Barnes that was there at the same time that Ethan claims he was. But, of course, Ethan has absolutely no idea who Nigel is. That's because he didn't go there. So Andy, she's trying to jog his memory, saying Nigel was a very popular type person. He used to write for the school newspaper, yada, yada, yada. And Ethan, he just chalked it up to being a bookworm and always in the library. So, of course, now he's ready to get up out of there quick and in a hurry, so he makes up an excuse to leave. So now that they're alone, Andy thinks that everything is cool and copacetic, and Jordan had to say, no, ma'am, just because you bring me hot cakes and sausage and a big breakfast, it's not going to change the fact that you kept things from me about my pregnant sister. So Andy, she's trying to plead her case, and Jordan, he really doesn't want to hear it. She wants to know how can she fix it, and he flat out told her that she can't, and low-key broke up with her in her face, telling her he won't have time to focus on her, his campaign, or anything else until he knew that his pregnant sister was home safe and sound. So we head over there to Zach and Fatima's, and they're trying to get Michael dressed and out the door because his daycare school bus is outside blowing, ready to pick him up. So now I know when Zach is frolicking around here and there and everywhere all day long and doesn't mention Michael, I know that he's in daycare or therapy sessions. So Zach, he comes back in and he has this look of concern on his face, and he tells Fatima that he just wishes Michael was talking already, and she reminds him that the psychologist and the speech therapist says that it may take some time because of his past trauma. So Zach, he then fixes his lips to suggest that one of them take Michael to school every day, low-key trying to put it on bonus mom Fatima, if you ask me. And she had to remind him that Michael's school was 30 minutes away, and that is not what they agreed upon. Fatima also tried to throw us all off by saying that both of them work full-time jobs. And I'm like, girl, no ma'am. Zach does not work anywhere full-time. As a matter of fact, the last time I heard Zach mention anything about going to work or doing something work-related was when he darted out the door at 10 o'clock at night to go meet with Bryce to look at a house in the dark. Now make that make sense. And then just last week, he told Fatima he couldn't help her with Michael in the morning times because the coochie have him laid out. So Zach, since you are the one concerned about Michael being bullied on the bus, you should get up off your behind and have that bonding moment with your 3-year-old son, taking him to and from the daycare every day. But Fatima, she convinces him that they're going to stick with their original plan to have him ride the bus and that they'll trust that Michael will be okay. So all of a sudden, somebody is banging on their door like they're the police. So they both say in unison, it better not be Deja. And to everybody's surprise, it was Danny. So Fatima is like, what brings you by this early in the morning, Danny? So she tells Zach she's there to get advice from him. And Fatima makes a joke about it like, you came to Zach for advice? Like, where they do that at? Now, with that being said, I find it ironic that Danny would actually go to Zach for advice, considering when Preston was helping Zach move in, Zach gave Preston some advice on how to handle Danny and their situation, and Danny has never let Preston live that down. But yet and still, here she is sitting up in Zach's face wanting advice on how she should apologize to Tony. And I'm trying to figure out, why are you even apologizing to Tony? So Zach's advice is for her to cook him a meal and give him some sloppy toppy and make sure she completes the mission. So Fatima tells her don't listen to that foolishness, so Danny asks her how would she apologize. Zach chimes in and says that's easy. She doesn't apologize, and Fatima says that's because I'm rarely ever wrong. But she does tell Danny that all she needs to do is just tell Tony how she really feels. So we head over there to the salon and we get a glimpse of Trey making a delivery, and Pam tells him don't be a stranger, and he says he won't. She can count on it. So Pam, she takes this opportunity to ask Karen when she rejected Trey, did she really mean that? So Karen, she reminds Pam that she has a gut full of human, twins at that, by 2 different men. Plus, she's trying to get her salon running, so all she has for Trey is friendship. So Pam asked her would she be mad if Trey was dating someone else, and she said no. So Karen, she automatically assumes that Pam is trying to hook one of her quote-unquote hood rat friends up with Trey, and I'm quite sure she's never met any of Pam's friends for real, so that would lead me to believe that she thinks that Pam is a hood rat. So Pam says she wants to hook up with Trey, and Karen spits her coffee all over the place and says, oh, my bad. She didn't mean to do that. It was just that the coffee was hot. I'm like, Karen, girl, you lying. So as Pam is mopping the coffee up, Karen comes over and apologizes for spitting it all over the place. So Pam wanted to know what was so funny when she said she was going to ask Trey out, and Karen flat out told her she doesn't think that Pam is Trey's type. So of course Pam wants to know what the hell is that supposed to mean, and Karen says, well, he did try to talk to me first, and I guess trying to suggest that Trey was looking for somebody a little more classy base, as if Pam is hood or whatever. So Pam, she looks Karen up and down and tells her there's not much of a difference between the two of them. They are both fine black women in their 30s, and they both are business women, and Karen low-key makes some kind of little shady gesture towards that. So Pam, she had to bring Karen all the way back to reality to let her know, look, the only difference between me and you is the fact that I'm not pregnant with 2 babies by 2 different dudes at the same damn time. So I guess that makes me a little less hood than you. No shade. So Karen claimed she wasn't offended by the comment and told Pam to go ahead if she feels like she has a chance with Trey. Go ahead and shoot your shot and good luck. At least you can wish me luck. Pam looked at her and said, baby, I don't need luck. I know that's right, Pam. Let it be known that you can run with the best of them. And Karen, don't be over there in the corner butt hurt when they start dating. So we go over there to the bank, and Sabrina is allowing Maurice to have his lunch inside this conference room instead of the regular employee break room. So apparently there's this employee named Todd that's going around the bank gossiping about Maurice and his situation and looking and staring and doing all kind of stuff. But Sabrina is the branch manager, so to me, I would think that she would be putting an end to gossip in the workplace. But she basically told Maurice, don't worry about it. The whispers will soon go away. And Maurice says he's not even worried about Todd. So I feel if Maurice really don't care about what Todd is doing, then he is just using Sabrina's friendship to get certain privileges. That's what it's looking like. But anyway, so he asks her, has she found a sperm donor yet? She tells him no. And he suggests to her that she use Calvin. So Sabrina says never would she want Calvin to be the father of her child. And Maurice wants to know, is it because she's still in love with Calvin? And she tells him don't be ridiculous, which I would agree with that because I never thought Sabrina was ever in love with Calvin. So he tells her that she doesn't have to worry about anybody being the stepmother to the child because he saw on Calvin's social media that he is now single. And it seemed like Sabrina's demeanor changed a little bit, but you really couldn't tell whether that made a difference or not. But Maurice, he started singing a whole song about it. She gave him her food and left him in there. So we go over there to Gary's office, and Ethan calls him, and he is extremely rude to Ethan. Like, why the F are you calling me? Ethan tells him that Jordan wants dirt on him and Hudson. So Gary says, well, give it to him. Just make sure it's not too damaging. Ethan also tells him he was able to plant the bug, and then we find out that Gary has Andy's place bugged as well. So Ethan mentions to Gary that Andy was over there, so now he's intrigued, and he starts unzipping his pants, talking about what does she have on. He wants Ethan to describe what she looked like as he pleasured himself. And I'm like, you are one sick mofo. So after hearing all the moans and groans and describing the wrong outfit Andy had on, Ethan was ready to get off the phone and said, can you tell Hudson that I called? So he gets yelled at because I guess he was disturbing his groove. And he said, look, why don't you tell him yourself? I'm not no damn answering service, you weirdo. And I'm like, pot meets kettle. How are you calling Ethan a weirdo and you're sitting here jacking off to a man's voice about your ex-girlfriend? Like, really, sir? So I guess the quickest way to relieve himself, he thought to pick up the phone and call Tamara. So she's over there trying to play hard to get, asking him what does he want. And she told him to stop calling her. He tells her he doesn't take orders from her and to stop capping because he knows that thing is over there waiting for him to come cream all up in it. I'm like, oh my. So now she's turned on by the sex talk and she gets ready to start pleasuring herself when Hayden walks in and interrupts and she has to hurry up and get off the phone pretending she's talking to a relative. So Hayden asks, like, who are you talking to? So she says, Auntie Beatrice, I told you about her. So she calls her play auntie. Hayden seems like he really wasn't buying it anyway, so he tells her, well, you tell Auntie Beatrice, all your relatives, and any of your other play cousins, don't be calling my house before 9 o'clock. So for some reason, Hayden seems like he's a little extra annoyed this morning, don't really want to be bothered. But Tamara, she's now hot and bothered after getting off the phone with Gary. So she's trying to fill all up on him. And he like kind of snatches her off of him like, go head on with all that. I got to go to work. So she was like, are you just going to leave me here alone unsatisfied? And he scoffs at her like, unsatisfied? Like, I gave it to you like 3 times last night. Are you still fiending for the D? Hayden basically didn't care what Tamara was talking about. He's stressed out about going to work, dealing with Miss Marie, dealing with Andy, and had to let her know the commission that he's going to be getting from this divorce settlement is going to have her unemployed ass living high on the hog for a while. And that she should be grateful for Miss Marie Willis and suggested she thaw out some crab and shrimp because he was craving gumbo. So he gets up and leaves and doesn't even tell her he loves her. And she hops right on the phone to call Gary. And he says, I knew you would be calling back. And basically he was like, look, I need to see you. Meet me at my hotel. So she was like, well, what am I going to get out of this? And he said the same thing you've been getting. Your back broke. So she tries to play hard and tells him if he ever wants to get another whiff of her pee again, that is going to cost him a lot. So we head over there to the law firm. We got Andy and Hayden in a meeting with Miss Marie. And Hayden, he's sitting there grinning from ear to ear because he feels like he done did his big one. He gives Miss Marie this itemized report of all the things that the husband has going on. She looks over and tells Hayden that he did a great job. Of course, he goes on and on like he really did something. So Andy, she's looking at her watch, looking at her phone, waiting on some information. So this girl finally comes in and brings her this folder. So Andy lets them know that it is pertaining to the case and consider it an addendum to the report that Hayden claimed was complete. Andy let it be known that the husband had an additional $75 million in NFTs that he was trying to hide. So Hayden, his face is cracked. He cannot believe Andy one-upped him. And Miss Marie, she's happy, thanking Andy for saving her all that money. So Hayden, he tries to apologize and says he doesn't know how he missed that. And Miss Marie goes in on him saying she doesn't know how he missed it either since he sat over there bragging, talking about his report was so thorough. And basically let him know that Andy just saved his raggedy ass. So while Andy is on the phone talking to Fatima, Hayden walks in her office hotter than fish grease because he feels like Andy is undermining him on this case when they're supposed to be working together. Andy lets him know he was the one that made it a competition. And she continued to read him by letting him know if he was as tenacious as he was about the case, instead of trying to one-up her all the time, he wouldn't end up looking like Boo Boo the Fool. And she basically kicked him out of her office. So we go back over there to the salon and Sabrina shows up to see Karen. And Karen was like, well, don't you have a bank that you need to be taking care of, Miss Branch Manager? And it's apparent to me that Sabrina doesn't give a damn about the job that she wanted oh so bad. So Sabrina says that she wants to take her to an early lunch, but it's mid-morning. Karen says they are booked solid. They're too busy. Sabrina wanted to talk about the baby shower. Karen basically told her, look, it's simple, just no drama. Sabrina also brought up Danny. Karen says she hasn't talked to her and has no plans to do so because Danny should have never been running her mouth. So the whole time she's talking about Danny and telling her business, I'm looking at Sabrina like, Sabrina, you have also told her business to Maurice. So Is Karen going to find that out and be mad at you as well? So I guess Sabrina did take heed to what Maurice said about Calvin, so she changes the subject and asks Karen would she let an ex be a sperm donor. And Karen said she let 2 of her exes be a sperm donor. You didn't actually let, it just kind of happened, but whatever. So Pam comes up out of the blue and says, oh, you really are the Rose Nyland of the group. And Sabrina's like, what are you talking about? And Karen plays it off like, oh, don't worry about it. So I'm like, wait a minute. Now, we all know that Rose from the Golden Girls is the slower one of the group. She's always acting so oblivious to everything. But what would make Pam say something like that to Sabrina? So Sabrina, she tells Karen what Maurice said about allowing Calvin to be the sperm donor. And Pam, she over there sneaking and creeping. So she yells out, you mean the yellow dude that was wearing the women's drawers? And they're like, Pam, get away. Stop listening to my conversations. So how did Pam know about Calvin? Or was she just being nosy back when they were discussing the whole Calvin saga? Sabrina didn't care what Pam had going on. She wanted to know what Karen thought about the situation. Karen told her it didn't matter what she thought. She wasn't there to judge. And it was up to her what she thought about Calvin being her child's father. We go over there back to Hayden's house, and Tamara, she's still mad at Hayden because he told her to cook, and she's calling him weak this, weak that, and how he makes her sick. So her phone rings and it's Gary, so she ignores the call. So they start this text thread where he's telling her don't ignore him, and she threatens to tell Hayden. He was like, well, tell that fool. So she was like, I can do one better. I can show him better than I can tell him. And she sends Gary the video footage of them in a hotel room that she took off of that pin she had on the nightstand. So we see Gary looking at the footage, and he is over there tight. He is fuming. Tamara is over there screaming checkmate because she thinks she has one up on Gary, but little does she know she does not understand the type of person Gary is, because this man is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She played her hand a little too soon, and she should have at least gotten something from him before revealing that she had this footage. So we go over there to the airport where we see Danny trying to talk to Tony, and he's basically giving her his ass to kiss. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. How do we switch from him attempting to apologize last week to now her running around kissing his ass? Like, make this make sense. He basically was given, I'm the supervisor, you're the employee, I need you to conduct yourself accordingly. And he walked off, leaving her standing there looking stupid. I'm like, couldn't be me. So we go back over there to the law firm, and Andy and Fatima, they're celebrating Andy's victory. And Fatima tells Andy, don't count her chickens before they hatch. Like, don't get too cocky too soon, because Hayden could be somewhere plotting and planning. So what Hayden did do was go plot his behind down in Gary's office to complain about Andy. And I'm quite sure that in the back of Gary's mind, he thought Hayden was storming in his office because he saw that video footage of him and Tamara. So within a split second, the conversation went from him being upset with Andy to him telling Gary, don't call Tamara a B because that's his lady. And Gary was like, don't tell me that you've caught feelings. And he's like, oh yeah, I just don't know if she feels the same way. And I'm confused by this particular dialogue because Hayden has been acting a plumb fool for Tamara from the jump. Did they not go to Vegas and get married on a whim? Didn't Gary hire somebody to look into Tamara to find out all of her shenanigans and expose her to show Hayden how dumb he was being for Tamara? So what is this conversation about? As if they just met yesterday. But what Gary is trying to do is to see how much Hayden may or may not know about her cheating situation. And he says, do you think she's playing you? And Hayden says he doesn't know, but whatever she's doing, the proof is in her phone. And you can see Gary's wheels turning, and he's over there fidgeting because he knows that video footage is on there of him blowing Tamara's back out. The question is, will he get to Tamara first to either destroy her phone or take it from her by force or by choice? So real quick, after low-key breaking up with her earlier that morning, Jordan goes to see Andy, pretty much apologizing, and takes her some dinner because they didn't get a chance to eat the breakfast that she brought him earlier that morning. So they basically make up. We go back over there to the salon, and we see Mama Lisa and Karen getting ready to go out to get something to eat. In comes Aaron with this stroller. He's happy-go-lucky, and Karen looks at him like, what is this? So Aaron, he's excited about the stroller, so he goes into full detail, and Karen basically goes slap off on him. She's telling him, oh, did he ever think that she wanted to pick out her own stroller since she's going to be the one strolling it? And I'm trying to figure out what's the problem. First of all, you have 2 kids, 2 different baby daddies. There's going to be plenty of household for these kids to be at, so you're going to need more than one stroller anyway. Nothing and nobody is stopping you from going to get the stroller of your choice, Karen. So what is the real issue here? So Mama Lisa, she wants to know what the problem is, and Karen says that he just found out that he's the father to one of the kids, and she tells Aaron that he's doing way too much. I have never in my life heard a mother say that a father was doing way too much. Girl, stop. So we finally get season 1 Aaron back, where he goes off on Karen and tells her, hell no, he's standing on business. He tells her he is sick and tired of her attitude when all he is trying to do is help her out, and saying that he's doing too much. He tells her she ain't never had a man that was doing enough. I said, oh. He says she acts so miserable sometimes and then wants to blame everybody else for her misery. But the person to really blame is the one staring her back in the mirror, meaning her damn self. So he told her that he still loved her even though she didn't want him, even though she was holding on to the memories of Zach, because that's all they were, memories, and he accepted that like a damn fool. But baby, Aaron told her what he will not tolerate is Karen's sour-ass output on life, driving a wedge between him and his child. No ma'am. Continued on with he's there to take care of his child and his or her sibling. He's there to help her through this process, so she needs to get used to it because he's not going anywhere, and she needs to get with the program, get on board, because this is happening. And basically told her to keep the damn stroller. So Aaron, he walked out and left her standing there, and now she's talking in her little baby voice, her little spoiled brat voice to her mama, talking about, did you see how he was just talking to me? And Mama Lisa kind of pacifying her, telling her, just take heed to what he said, because deep down she knows that no lies were told. So Karen says that it seemed like it was a little too harsh, and Mama Lisa tried to say, well, maybe it's because your blood sugar is low, and Karen was like, oh, is that what it was? No, ma'am, it was Aaron hitting you with some hard facts. So we go over there to Zach and Fatima's. Fatima, she's just getting home from work. Zach is in the same spot she left him in that morning in the same exact clothes. So I don't know what full-time job he went to. I'm going to let him slide this time because Zach has everything taken care of. He played Mr. Mom. He has dinner already prepared. Michael is already situated and in bed. And that's what Fatima asked for, just for some help. Just help her out. He says that he got this and they're going to work this whole co-parenting thing out. So Fatima, she brought up the fact that Angela suggested that they get a nanny, and Zach really had no problems with it at all. So nanny it is, and we see them interviewing for that position in next week's episode. We go back over there to the airport, and Danny barges in Tony's office while he's on the phone. And, he tells her she can't be doing all of that. Well, apparently last week really never happened where he attempted to apologize, because he's saying that he's still upset on how Danny handled his kids. And I'm just confused. So then Danny tells him that she's been getting advice from her friends and Zach, so he wanted to know what was said. And she said that Fatima told her to tell him that she loved him. And I'm like, oh, so we in love? I didn't know Danny loved Tony. Okay then. But then she told him that Zach said to give him the sloppy toppy, and that's basically all he heard. So you were steaming mad all this time, but just because Zach suggested that she feed you and give you that sloppy toppy, now Zach is her best friend? Child, please. So she goes into apology mode. She expresses how she feels, tells him about not really having kids. He needs to have patience with her. She knows that his kids are a package deal, but she's willing to sign up for it. So after all of that, he wants Danny to do what Zach suggested and not the food part. So of course, this is what they do at work on the clock all the time. So she's attempting to go down on him to do that when they are interrupted by someone walking in the unlocked door. And Danny says, who is this G.I. Jane looking bee? And she said, well, let me introduce myself. I'm his wife, Tiffany Hamilton. He quickly says ex-wife. And that's where the episode ends. Woo child. It was season 1 Aaron for me, finally getting a backbone and standing up to Karen and letting her know how he really feels. Sometimes you have to teach people how to treat you, otherwise they're going to treat you any kind of way. So big ups to Aaron for standing up for his damn self and telling Karen what he will not tolerate when it comes to him and his unborn child. This episode was written by Jamey Giddens. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. As always, you guys, thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.